Hello and welcome to this week's edition of Cavaliers Weekly on the Bleacher Report app. I am Mikey McNuggets, a.k.a. Mike Lucas of the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show, and the Cleveland Cavaliers, the NBA's best 48-10 Cleveland Cavaliers, have a gigantic matchup tomorrow night against the Boston Celtics, and we are here to break it down in full for you guys today, especially how the addition of DeAndre Hunter changes the geometry, the math, and everything for Cleveland as they take on the bigger Boston Celtics. Let's first start with what we know about tomorrow night's matchup. Darius Garland is a game-time decision for Cleveland. He got hurt against the Knicks last Friday, and prior to the game against Memphis on Sunday, Kenny Atkinson said, I don't anticipate this being a long-term injury. I don't think it'll be that serious, but we're going to play it cautiously. We're not going to rush Darius back. We have no need to rush him back into action, but I don't anticipate it being a very long absence. He missed Sunday's game. He missed Tuesday's game, and I have a good hunch, not sourced, but a very good hunch that Darius will be in uniform for the Cleveland Cavaliers on Friday when they take on the Boston Celtics at TD Garden in Boston. Jaylen Brown for Boston is also considered a game-time decision. He did not play against the Detroit Pistons in Boston's embarrassing loss last night. He is a game-time decision for the Cleveland Cavaliers matchup, just like Darius. I would also anticipate Jaylen Brown being in action. So for the first time this season, we should, and things can change, but I'm going to go with should, be able to get a pretty good impression of a relatively healthy Cavs team against a relatively healthy Celtics team. We've seen that spurts this year, but now that DeAndre Hunter's in the fold for Cleveland and the Celtics have established their top 7-8 guys in the rotation and most of them are healthy, we are going to get a clash for the ages if Joe Mazzulla and Kenny Atkinson play this game tomorrow night as if it was a playoff contest. And I'm telling y'all right now, I get no indication from either coach as to why they wouldn't play this game to the utmost level of intensity. Kenny actually said on Tuesday after the win over Orlando that the Cavaliers have to prove to themselves that they can still win in Boston. They've beaten the Celtics in Cleveland, but this iteration of the team with Kenny Atkinson at the helm has yet to beat Boston in Boston. Now, the Cavs did beat the Celtics in Game 2 of the Eastern Conference semifinals last season, but that was without Kenny Atkinson. And a lot has changed in terms of the Cavaliers roster, coaching staff, and overall philosophy since that Game 2 win. And Kenny said, we're going to play this essentially like a Game 7 because we need to get information back that we can use to prepare for Boston in a playoff series and get certain data points with lineups and matchups, etc., that we can't do unless we play this game at a high level and try and knock the crap out of the Celtics. So I fully expect Cleveland to give an all-out effort. I could see Joe Mazzulla being the wily, what's the right word? He likes to mess with people. Let's just put it that way. I could see a scenario where Joe Mazzulla says, I refuse to give Cleveland any confidence. We're not going to take this game that seriously. We're going to play a lot of the backups, a lot more minutes than typical. Let Cleveland beat us, but don't give them any sort of proof that they can beat us at our best. I could see it happening, but for the sake of this stream today and for the next 15 minutes, let's go into this under the assumption that both teams are going to play like this is a Game 7. The Cavaliers, the last time they played the Boston Celtics, did not have DeAndre Hunter. And when that game got away from Cleveland, they started out slow offensively, and then they fought their way back. But when the game got out of hand late, part of the reason that Boston was able to take such a big lead and then sustain that lead was when Cleveland switched, they kept finding themselves with Max Strus on Kristaps Porzingis. The Celtics exploited that matchup time after time after time. And Donovan Mitchell said after the game that, A, we can't react so much to Kristaps Porzingis in the post because if he makes it two, he makes it two. We're okay. And B, if we are going to help, we can't help so much so that he kicks it out to an open three. We have to be in better positions to help and recover. But the Celtics hunt mismatches as much, if not more, than any other team in basketball. They will find your weakest defender. They will single him out, and they will run either dribble handoffs, pick and rolls, switches, or offensive sets that force you to switch so they can get the offensive player they want to score going up against the defensive player they want him to go up against. It's what they did last season throughout the playoffs. It's what they've done for the majority of this season. It's what Joe Mazzulla built his entire offensive philosophy on. And when Max Strus was out there, the last time they played the Celtics, the Cavs singled out Max Strus and said, we are going to put you on Porzingis, and it is not going to end well for Cleveland. Strus got 3 fouls, by the way, in a 90-second stretch in the third quarter that forced him to go to the bench and switched up the lineups the Cavs had to use. And Dean Wade also did not play in that game. So now we look at tomorrow night's matchup. The Cavs have Dean Wade back, which is a huge help. 6'9", versatile defender. You feel pretty comfortable with him guarding Tatum or Brown on the perimeter. You feel pretty comfortable with him at least giving some sort of resistance to Kristaps Porzingis if Boston feeds him in the post. You also have DeAndre Hunter, who you acquired essentially for matchups just like this. You got DeAndre, so you have a 6'8", 7'3" wingspan, athletic defender that you can throw against the best wings in the Eastern Conference and hopefully against the West in the NBA Finals. That means Jayson Tatum. That means Jaylen Brown, and that means switching on to Kristaps Porzingis, when Boston runs those same sets. Now, unlike with Max Strus, I have a gut feeling, and we'll find out for sure tomorrow, that if the Celtics continue to try and attack that switch and Hunter finds himself guarding Porzingis in the post, I don't think the Cavs are going to send a ton of help. Now, they'll obviously dig. They'll make Porzingis think twice before just going to his post-up offense. But Hunter, with a 7'3" wingspan, and he's built, dude's a strong dude, I think can hold his own enough at a minimum to at least make Porzingis have to shoot over him. Unlike Strus, who, if Porzingis went up, him being 7'3" over Strus at 6'5", there was no resistance. Hunter's size and length at least gives him a chance to kind of harass, annoy, deter Porzingis from getting wide open turnaround looks 8 feet from the basket. And as long as you can do that, I feel like you can live with Porzingis taking 10 two-pointers in a game. That's not going to kill you. He'll make 5 or 6 of them. That's 12, 15, 14 points, whatever. You're fine. You're okay. No big need. No reason to overreact to that. But when you start helping so much, then Porzingis kicks out to Pritchard and Brown and White and Holiday and Tatum for open threes, Hauser, and that's when the barrage starts to become unbearable. So with Hunter in the fold, the Cavs can be more, what's the word I want to use? They can be more succinct and intentional with switches. They can fight over certain screens if they don't want to give up the switch. And now they have the length on the perimeter that if they do get caught in these switches, to not be automatically giving up an easy look at the bucket. Hunter is a great matchup on paper from a physicality standpoint on Jayson Tatum, on Jaylen Brown, on Derek White, on Drew Holiday. And the Cavs don't really have a great matchup in terms of a switch for Porzingis. But if you're looking at anybody from a physical standpoint that can hold up to Kristaps in that situation, it's a 6'8" DeAndre Hunter with a 7'3" wingspan, or a Dean Wade, who is actually a lot stronger than some people give him credit for and stands at least 6'9". So in this matchup, in round 4 of this heavyweight this contest, you have 2 wings you feel a lot more comfortable being in that switch situation than you did when they played in the third game earlier this season, when it was Strus and it was Merrill and it was guys like that. Javonte Green, I don't anticipate playing a ton tomorrow, but he's another guy the Cavs signed that can help guard some of the bigger wings if needed. Remember, Javonte Green is listed at 6'5", but he's a 7-foot wingspan. The dude is long, and you saw it in garbage time minutes on Tuesday night against the Magic. He got his first action as a Cav and looked pretty good. Would anticipate a big role from him against the Celtics, but it's at least another weapon in the tool bag for Kenny Atkinson to go to. The other part of Hunter, outside of the obvious, you have a bigger body to start on Tatum and Brown. You have the help in the switch. You don't have to help as much if Hunter is the primary defender on Porzingis when you do get caught in the switch. The other part of how Hunter changes the equation for this is Boston now has to change the way they're going to guard Cleveland if you have Hunter out there with the core 4, or even in that secondary unit, if it's Hunter, it's Mobley, it's Mitchell, it's Ty Jerome, and then it's Dean Wade or whoever else the 5th player on the court is. Because if it was the core 4 and Max Strus, if you remember what Boston did last time, they essentially had Tatum guard Mobley, so when they ran that high pick and roll between Donovan, Darius, and Evan, they were switching the guard from the Cavs' perspective, Darius, Donovan, whoever was attacking. They were trying to get a switch, but now you have Jayson Tatum standing in front of you. And sure, Darius and Donovan can get past Tatum, But Tatum's a really good defender. And that's not the attack you want to attack on a switch. You want to get a Porzingis in a switch. You want to get an Al Horford in a switch, or whoever the slowest big man on Boston is. But with DeAndre Hunter now, the Celtics can't just put a smaller guy on DeAndre Hunter and say, oh, we'll sacrifice you trying to attack. And we'll use Max Strus as an example because he started. Boston was fine with having Max Strus one-on-one against Jrue Holiday or Derek White with no help. With DeAndre Hunter, we talked about it before, when he got traded to Cleveland, he was in the 92nd percentile in points per post-up possession, meaning when he got the ball in a post-up situation, which NBA.com tracks within 10 feet of the basket in that arc formation, so essentially take the three-point line and bring it back in closer within 10 feet, in one-on-one situations, he was more effective than 92% of the league in terms of scoring from those situations. And because of his wingspan and because of how we've showed you guys on the show where he shoots from above his head, you can't really guard that with a Jrue Holiday or a Derek White. I mean, they can hold their own, don't get me wrong, but it's a matter of whether DeAndre Hunter is making or missing those shots, not whether is it a good look or a bad look. He's going to get whatever look he wants in that situation. When it's Strus, is he getting a good look one-on-one against White or Jrue Holiday? I'm not so sure. He can. He certainly is capable of, but that's not a situation the Cavs would go to very frequently on offense. So now with Hunter, it's going to change the way Boston tries to match up. I would anticipate, and I could be wrong, but I would anticipate if the Celtics have their full starting five on the court tomorrow, they'll start Tatum on Evan Mobley. They'll start Porzingis on Jarrett Allen. I do think Max Strus will start tomorrow for Cleveland, but I would, if I was Kenny Atkinson, start DeAndre Hunter. This is the one matchup where I do think it makes sense to start DeAndre Hunter just for the sake of you can't get down against Boston. And if they're going to attack Strus when he's out there, then let's start with Hunter and just take that out of the tool belt from the get-go. So let's just, for the sake of this, say Hunter's in. So you have Tatum on Mobley. You have Porzingis on Allen. You probably have to put Jaylen Brown now on DeAndre Hunter. And then you have your two guards matching up with Cleveland's two guards. And that gives you an instance where if Cleveland then tries to attack certain matchups from Boston's standpoint, they can't switch as easily either. So it helps Cleveland on both ends of the court, having a guy with DeAndre Hunter's skill to essentially minimize what Boston's trying to attack on offense. And from a defensive standpoint, when the Celtics are guarding Cleveland, they can't just switch as easily, and they can't forget about one guy, because if you forget about Hunter, he'll make you pay. We've seen since he came here, and I have some numbers to show you guys. We mentioned this on the show the other day, but since the Cavs acquired DeAndre Hunter, they've essentially been perfect, for lack of a better word. I mean, check out the numbers you see on your screen here. Just an incredible stretch here in the 6 games since they've acquired DeAndre Hunter. The Cavs are 6-0. They also, in that stretch, beat Memphis, beat the Knicks, beat the Timberwolves, beat the Magic by 40 nonetheless. 4 of the 6 wins in this stretch have come against teams that are currently in the playoff picture. If you include Orlando, who is technically 7th, but just a game and a half or 2 games here behind Detroit. They have the best offensive rating in basketball, 127.5. They have the best defensive rating in basketball, 104.1. That means they have the best net rating, too, of 23.4. They lead the NBA in rebounds per game, which is a massive, massive, massive increase over where they were previously. And between DeAndre Hunter and Ty Jerome, they're scoring 48.2 points per game off the bench. Shocker, that is also number 1 in the NBA. Guys, there is nothing short of spectacular when it comes to discussing how good the Cavs have been since acquiring DeAndre Hunter. And you can't say, well, they've played nobody. Memphis was a top 3 seed. I don't know where they are at the exact moment, but they were a top 3 seed in the West when they played Cleveland. The Knicks, the 3rd seed in the East. Minnesota has Anthony Edwards, their team that came into the season with championship expectations. And the Orlando Magic lost by 40 in a game that they called a must-win for playoff situations. Sure, the Nets and the Raptors, whatever. You can wipe those games off, but they've been spectacular. Part of the reason they've been so good and part of the reason the rebounding has increased is Hunter. Even though he's not much of a rebounder, he at least gives you size to grab extra rebounds that Kareem off the rim. You've gotten Dean Wade back, and Dean Wade has been an incredible rebounder throughout his career. The numbers don't show Dean Wade's impact on the glass, but look at any of the advanced metrics since he came into the real rotation 3 years ago. The Cavs are a significantly better rebounding team with Dean Wade on the court than they are without, regardless of who the other 4 players are. He boxes out. He allows other guys to actually grab the rebound, but if you noticed, the guy around Dean when the shot goes up almost never grabs the board because Dean is boxing him out and doing what he needs to do best. And against a team like Boston, rebounding is crucial. They have the size advantage. Like, it is what it is. Porzingis is bigger than Allen and Mobley. Mobley's bigger than their next best player or next biggest player. But then you have Tatum, you have Brown, you have White, Porzingis. That's bigger than the Cavs. But if you gang rebound, you have a chance to compete with that. And we saw against Memphis on Sunday, the Cavs were only in that game because of how much they dominated the offensive glass. That is, to this day, the way they dominated Memphis on the glass might be the 3rd or 4th most impressive thing I've seen this Cavaliers team do all season. Because it was everybody. It wasn't just Jarrett. It wasn't just Evan. It wasn't just Dean. It was the guards. It was Ty Jerome hustling down offensive rebounds. It was Max Strus flying into the stands to save a ball to Donovan Mitchell, It was Donovan doing the same thing. And he did it against the Knicks too, flying into the crowd up 30 on Friday to save a loose ball. Right now, the Cavs are rolling. And the fact that DeAndre Hunter has come in and fits so seamlessly into the equation shouldn't be a surprise to anybody because, A, he's been a winning player his entire career. That's a little misleading. He won at Virginia, came to Atlanta. He did most of the little things needed to win. The Hawks just didn't have a ton of success, but they did reach the Eastern Conference Finals that one year with DeAndre Hunter on the squad. And now that he's sitting here with a Cleveland team in a championship position, you're seeing the best of DeAndre Hunter. And the beautiful thing is, if I asked all you guys today, have the Cavs fully unlocked DeAndre yet? My answer is no. I still think there's a level for DeAndre to rise to, and it comes on both ends of the court. I think he could be even better defensively, more impactful. And that's just by learning some of the tendencies of playing alongside Evan and Jarrett and Donovan and Darius. And from an offensive standpoint, he only knows 25, 30% of the playbook. Like, Kenny's made that very clear. A lot of the stuff we've seen DeAndre do offensively since coming to Cleveland is self-creation, which is, and I'll preface this, like, this is an incredible thing for DeAndre. The fact that he's been this effective and this good without really knowing the full system yet, just because he's simply a really smart and really talented and really creative basketball player, means that once he gets the full grasp of how the Cavs want to operate on that end of the court, the options are endless. The possibilities are infinite. And there's a chance that come playoff time, when he sees his minutes go up, along with the starters, that the Cavs won't just have Donovan, Darius, and Evan in that 20-point per game category. They could have DeAndre Hunter right there too. And heck, if Ty Jerome keeps playing at the level he's playing at, then maybe Ty Jerome becomes the 5th guy in that conversation. But that is a good problem to have. As far as the game tomorrow night goes, as we wrap this up with our final kind of look at how DeAndre Hunter changes the complexion against Boston, you go back to some of the individual NBA.com tracking numbers between DeAndre and between Brown and Tatum. And the last time these two really went at it was the playoffs 2 years ago, when Hunter was the primary defender on Tatum and on Brown. And if you look at just the arbitrary numbers, Tatum and Brown got the better of DeAndre Hunter. That's what the numbers say. And the Celtics won the series. I'm not trying to sit here and tell you guys that Hunter locked them down. But the one thing Hunter does have the ability to do, because of his length, because of his athleticism, because of his lateral quickness, is A, keep guys in front, and B, contest shots, and at least make good players have to think twice about taking a routine jumper. And now that Hunter has been reintegrated into a championship caliber roster, and he's been put alongside his best friend in Ty Jerome, and he was given the pressure of being, you're the missing piece. And Cleveland went out and broke up a team that was, at the time, I believe, 41-10, to bring you in here and say, DeAndre, you're going to help us get over the top. That's pressure. You've seen his effort level on that end of the court rise. You've seen his efficiency on the offensive end of the court rise. He's not trying to be his own player. He is trying to assimilate and fit in. And that's the kind of intangibles that help teams win championships. And when he goes up against Tatum and Brown tomorrow night, or Derek White and Drew Holiday, I expect the kind of effort from DeAndre Hunter that you saw in the national championship when Virginia knocked off Texas Tech in 2019. Like, that's the caliber of effort I'm expecting from DeAndre Hunter tomorrow night. You can say it's a regular season game. I get that. I understand the Cavs have a big lead for the 1 seed. Tomorrow night's outcome does not determine who will end up being the 1 seed. It won't determine whether the Cavs have to go on the road for game 7 or not. But DeAndre knows this is the exact kind of game that he was traded for. This is the exact matchup, not kind of game. This was the exact team he was traded for to help counteract. And now the pressure's on. And DeAndre told us in the locker room after the game against the Grizzlies on Sunday, I was built for that kind of pressure. I like the expectations. I want people to expect the most from me, because when people expect the most from me, I get the most out of myself. And that is when you, being the fans, get to see the best version of DeAndre Hunter. DeAndre will help Cleveland offensively. If they get into ruts like they did early against Boston in the last matchup, they can give the ball to DeAndre, clear out half the court, and say, D, go get a bucket. Go get a good shot. You want it in the post, you want it in the mid-range, you want it in the corner, you want it top of the key. You can go attack. We like your chances to score on any of Boston's defenders. On a defensive standpoint, he gives you the size and the flexibility and the versatility to mix and match against Boston. And if you do get caught on those Porzingis switches, and he likes to roll right down the middle of the rim or right down the middle of the court so he gets to the rim, you're not in immediate panic mode because he has the size and strength to at least give Porzingis fits. You're not going to stop him. I mean, Hunter's not going to be a post-up guy that you say, yeah, we put him on Porzingis and take him out of the game. Like, no, that's unrealistic. But you just have to stop his momentum, make him pause for a second, make him read the floor. And at that time, that gives Donovan or Darius or Isaac or whoever enough time to get in, help, chip in, dig, and try to strip the ball. He's more than capable of doing that. And I expect it to be on full display tomorrow night. The Cavs trail the Celtics 2-1 in the season series. They've only lost 10 games all year. 2 have come to Boston. I do not see a world, and I hope I'm right, but I do not see a world where 3 of the Cavs' 11 losses on the season have all come to one team. The East still runs through Boston. And until the Cavs knock them out in the playoffs, that will be true. And the best possible first step to getting the confidence to know you should and you can beat Boston in a playoff series is by beating them on their home court on a nationally televised game late in the season. And that's the opportunity sitting ahead of the Cleveland Cavaliers come tomorrow night. Appreciate everyone tuning into this Bleacher Report Cavaliers weekly stream. I am Mikey McNuggets. You can find us every Monday through Friday on the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show, 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. on YouTube. We appreciate y'all tuning in. We will have a live post-game show after the Cavs-Celtics game on the YouTube channel tomorrow night. But for now, that's going to wrap it up, and we'll see you guys tomorrow. Go Cavs. Peace.